Commander Zexathara of the Galactic Coalition stared at the tactical display with mounting disbelief. The holographic representation of New Terra's ruins should have been empty by now, devoid of life, resources, and most importantly, hope. Instead, heat signatures pulsed throughout the devastated cityscape like a living organism's heartbeat. "Impossible," she whispered, her forearms trembling slightly. "The siege has lasted 18 standard months. Nothing should survive this long without supply lines." Her aide, a crystalline Veltari named Kresh, chimed uncertainly. "Perhaps the sensors are malfunctioning, Commander." The humans were cut off completely. No food shipments, no medical supplies, no reinforcements. Basic military doctrine states. "Basic military doctrine," Zexathara interrupted, "doesn't account for humans." The Coalition had learned this lesson the hard way across dozens of worlds. When they first encountered humanity expanding through the outer rim, the aliens had assumed these bipedal mammals would follow predictable patterns, surround their cities, cut their supply lines, and wait for surrender. It worked on every other species in the galaxy. But humans didn't surrender. They adapted. On the screen, movement caught Zexathara's attention. A group of figures emerged from what appeared to be a collapsed residential tower. As the camera zoomed in, she saw children, human children, laughing as they harvested something from vertical gardens that somehow thrived in the building's exposed skeleton. "How are they growing food in the ruins?" Kresh asked, voicing the question that haunted every Coalition officer. Zexathara had studied the reports from other sieges. On Kepler 442b, humans had turned bombed-out subway tunnels into mushroom farms. On Proxima Station, they'd created hydroponic systems using salvaged ship components and their own waste. Each siege taught them something new, and they shared that knowledge across their networks with terrifying efficiency. The humans called it siege culture, and it was spreading faster than any military advance. "Commander," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's musical." The bridge filled with an oddly rhythmic sound, drums improvised from debris, voices harmonizing in a language the translation matrix struggled to process. But the emotions came through clearly: defiance, joy, and something else that made Zexathara's exoskeleton crawl. Hope. A human voice cut through the music, speaking an accented but clear galactic standard. "Greetings, Coalition forces. This is Sarah Chen, elected representative of the New Terra Reconstruction Council. We understand you've been orbiting up there for quite some time. Would you like to come down for dinner?" Several bridge officers chittered nervously. Kresh's crystalline form flickered with confusion. "Are they inviting us to eat with them?" Zexathara studied the tactical readout again. What she'd initially mistaken for random heat signatures now revealed a pattern. The humans hadn't just survived the siege. They'd used it as an opportunity to completely reimagine their city. Collapsed buildings had become terraced farms. Bomb craters were now reservoirs and aquaculture ponds. The destroyed transportation network had been replaced with zip lines and suspension bridges that turned movement through the ruins into an art form. They'd transformed devastation into innovation. "Commander," her intelligence officer spoke up, "we're detecting similar patterns on all besieged human worlds. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. Population numbers are actually increasing on 17 siege worlds. They're calling the ruined cities renewal sites." The transmission crackled again. "We know you're confused," Sarah Chen continued, her voice warm despite the circumstances. "You expected us to break, to surrender, to beg for mercy, but you misunderstood something fundamental about humanity. We don't just endure hardship, we find ways to make it beautiful." On the screen, the camera panned across New Terra's transformed landscape. Children played in gardens that cascaded down the sides of broken towers. Artists had painted murals on blast walls, turning scars into canvases. Engineers had rigged wind turbines in the gaps where buildings once stood, generating power from the very air that rushed through their wounded city. "Every species in the galaxy builds up," Chen continued. "You build higher, stronger, more impressive than what came before. But humans, we learned long ago that the most beautiful flowers grow in the worst soil. You've spent 18 months trying to break us, and all you've done is give us room to grow." Zexathara realized with growing horror that the siege wasn't containing the humans, it was incubating them. Each besieged world was becoming a laboratory where humanity experimented with new ways of living. New technologies born from necessity, new forms of community forged in the crucible of hardship. And the most terrifying part? They were sharing it all. "Commander," the communications officer reported, "we're detecting transmissions from the surface to other human worlds. They're broadcasting their innovations, architectural techniques, agricultural methods, water purification systems. It's like they're teaching the entire human sphere how to thrive under siege conditions." The galaxy had tried to break humanity by surrounding their worlds and waiting for surrender. Instead, the coalition had accidentally created the perfect conditions for human innovation to flourish. Every siege world was becoming stronger, more self-sufficient, more resilient, and more dangerous. "Commander," Chen's voice came again, "we've prepared a feast tonight. Fresh vegetables from our crater gardens, fish from our rubble reefs, and bread baked in ovens we built from the hulks of your own dropships. The invitation stands open. We'd love to show you what we've learned." Zexathera looked at her tactical display one final time. The heat signatures weren't just surviving, they were dancing. In the ruins of New Terra, humanity had built something unprecedented, a civilization that grew stronger under pressure, more beautiful in destruction, more unified in isolation. The galaxy had tried breaking humans with endless sieges. Instead, it had taught them to bloom in the darkness between the stars.